Good evening, RC Afterhours community. I guess that's what we're going with right now. Let me lower down that music and have a little fun. We're doing a little live impromptu podcast, and because I managed to actually get our guest at the last minute. I wouldn't say last minute. I think we were talking a few days now, trying to get him in. So without any further ado, we're going to introduce our guest, and it is the one and the only Alex Zvada. Alex!
Hey,
there you go.
What's up,
we're
man? How's it going, everybody?
Streaming out. We've got some people watching, but like I always remind everybody when we come onto the podcast, it's all about the audio end of it. The video is a bonus, but we've got a few people watching the show, and stay tuned because we're going to have some Q&A fun. I really haven't laid out what the podcast is going to be like for Alex. He's kind of... not even experimental. He's just in it for the fun of it. But we're going to talk about particularly Alex's involvement in the RC community and how we've got to watch Alex develop over the years into what I pretty well feel like is a pretty top-notch presenter. And I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable, but you've got a very important part in this microcosm of what we call our hobby these days. So I'm really looking forward to it. Glow Cave, yes. I'm really looking forward to diving in and having some chats with it. I guess off the top, Alex, for anybody, and you probably, I want to say way back, we're in the RC After Hours or the FT After Hours podcast a while ago. So you haven't been on this show in forever, at least not with me. So we're going to have some fun. And I guess off the top, introduce yourself. Introduce yourself to the listeners and everybody out there. And give us an idea of how you got into this wonderful place you are now.
Well, sure. Yeah. Appreciate the kind words, Andre. And I have to say it's more of a privilege than anything. And, I'm just a normal guy who found myself into a peculiar situation here, getting a job at Flite Test at the right time and kind of growing my career through that. And like I said, it's been an absolute privilege. So, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I got you.
I'm watching.
I got you. Oh, yeah. Oh,
okay, good.
I haven't listened to the stream because every time I open the channel up, we'll just hear the feedback. But the levels look fantastic. And, we'll have to see if there's any comments. I'll keep an eye on the chat as we go through. So, goodness, I'm trying to figure out.
Well, yeah, I can give you a little background here. But, again, thank you for the kind words. And I kind of, Flite Test relatively is new. I've been working here going on 7 years, so I guess it's not too new. We kind of joke about it because sometimes it seems like we've been working here for a year, and then because it's so fast paced, and then other times we've done so much that it feels like I've been here for like 20 years, and I don't even remember what life was like without Flite Test. But yeah, I mean, beyond Flite Test, like aviation has always been like a huge part of my life growing up. My dad is a pilot for a living. He flies commercial jets for a private company, and we've been, again, very privileged and blessed with his career. And he kind of raised me around aviation. Some of my earliest memories were being, on the tarmac, at air shows that my dad was helping run at the time, at the airport that he worked at. And I remember blowing out the hot air balloon burners from birthday candles after everybody sang me happy birthday. So it's like, I don't even know what life is like without aviation. And so, long story short, went to school here in Northeast Ohio for graphic design, got out of school at the University of Akron, and basically was looking for a job far and wide as a graphic designer. And Flite Test was a few years old at the time. They had several dozen videos on YouTube. And I was applying everywhere. Graphic design, you have your portfolio with all your work in it, and you go and you submit your resume, and you go and you apply and you present your portfolio. And I was doing that all over the place, trying to find a job to get into the industry. And I was working a graphic design job, but it was kind of a dead-end job, just like a stepping stone job. And, I was applying everywhere. And I was just like, you know what? Like, I'm just so tired of all this. I just want to watch some Flite Test because I was a fan. Like, I had met Josh, I met Chad one time very randomly at an indoor flying event. If you go way, way back in the archives of the videos, you can see some of them. I think it was called, um, it was the JR indoor event. That's what it was. And anyways, I was like, I'm so sick of applying at all these jobs and resumes and yada yada yada. I was like, let's just watch some Flite Test. And so I started watching, and eventually I got to thinking, and I was like, you know what? Like, these guys are nearby. I knew they were in the area. Let's just send them a message. And so I sent a message to support basically and said, hey, looking for a job. I'll do anything. At the time, Chad Capper got back to me within probably, I think, the hour. If it was like within minutes, he basically emailed me back and said, what are you doing right now? And it just so happened that was the time that they had just launched the 3-pack. So first speed build kit. And also it was kind of the time that Flite Test had gone from like a, for lack of a better term, a side project. I believe that Chad was doing Flite Test as like a passion project within his video production company, which was called StoneCap. Because technically I got hired under StoneCap at the time. So I think Flite Test became its own entity after I got hired. So it was very early. Flite Test had been making videos for a couple years, but like I think it had just like kind of formed into a business, or it was forming into a business officially. So it was kind of a right place at the right time, I guess, because I got in there and like I said, I was looking for graphic design work. And I think Chad told me that like 25% of the work I would be doing is graphic design. And then the rest I would be helping with manufacturing, which in other words, it means that I'm going to be running a laser cutter all day, cutting out kits. So it started with me and Josh. And then eventually his wife, Jen, came in to help. And we were working out of a single car garage in the basement of the StoneCap, the video production company. And we worked there for like about a year. And that's like kind of where it started. And some of you guys may or may not be familiar with the rest of the story, but eventually I ran the laser actually for several years and basically just we all did. It was very much like a startup environment. And so everybody wore a ton of hats. So you just did what needed to get done. If we needed to cut planes, we'd cut planes. And, I did all the customer service for a handful of years there, answering emails and doing stuff like that. And then eventually Dave Knopp, who is one of editor who contributed to a lot of the Flite Test library, who's actually, random side note, is actually working with Peter right now, making some of their awesome content. Dave Knopp, from day one, he's like, you ready, man? He's like, you ready to be on camera? And I didn't want to be on camera at all. I had no intention. I wanted to do, like I said, I wanted to do graphic design work, and I was like somehow looking to grow my career in graphic design. And from day one, he was always joking. He's like, you're going to be the next one. He's like, it's just only a matter of time. And slowly but surely, he started like editing me into the videos, whether it's in the background or whatnot. And then eventually, at the end of the day, there's only like, at that time, there was like 2 people. There was like David and Josh. And then Josh Scott has always kind of worked on a contracted basis. So like, there wasn't like that many people who could help make videos. So like it was mostly out of necessity that I ended up on camera, I'd say. But yeah, it's grown and grown. And then eventually I learned how to kind of be on camera. I had a background in playing music in front of people. I was in a really weird band for about 10 years. So I was kind of used to doing weird things in front of people. But eventually, the graphic design, I started doing more of that. I still do all the graphic design work for Flite Test. But eventually I continued to grow, always trying to grow and learn more. So eventually I learned more about video. The vlog started. I started learning about video editing. And now between Jeremy and myself, we kind of edit all of the video content. So still learning every day. I still don't consider myself a professional, even though I get paid for it. But it's kind of been a wild journey, and that's like the long 5-minute version, but even that left out a lot. There's been so many awesome memories over the years. So it's been a privilege. And again, Andre, I really, really appreciate the kind words, and to everybody out there watching, I really appreciate you guys. Tom Jenkins, Jody Spriggs, I see you guys in the comments there. Cyber J, what's up, everybody? Appreciate you guys hanging out, and appreciate everything you guys have done to get, not just Flite Test here, but like me here. It's been a awesome thing in my life and an awesome part of my career. So
it's funny because you're very welcome, man. And it's funny because a lot of us, from my end of it, I've got to watch you develop through those things, and a couple things you just said, about being a video editor, and it's fun to watch the content change. It's fun to watch I loved the vlogs. But I know how much work there's involved in stuff like this. But it's been fun to watch you, and I bet now as a professional, if you go back and look at some of your earlier stuff, I'm sure it's cringeworthy at times, right? Because you're growing as a creator, and so it's been really fun. From my end of it, there was a moment, and that first Flite Fest, I had to leave early on the Sunday, and that was painful. And I got home. Yes, I got home, and my phone, like, I didn't have Wi-Fi or network while I was driving home, right? So I got home, and my phone and all my content is exploding. Check out the video, and you're there, and you're talking about it, and you mentioned my name, and I showed my wife, and she was like super impressed. She said, "You went to this event out of the blue, out of everything, and they mentioned your name." And it's just, I'm like, yeah, that's the kind of community that all of a sudden has catalyst in. And it's funny because I don't think you guys realize the impact you have. And from my end, when I'm snowbound in the middle of winter and you guys are like, finally starting to fly, and it's that it was the VersaWing video I think that really clicked for me. It's like, oh my goodness, you guys are just having so much fun. You, David, Josh, and the crew and everything, and it's a bit of the old content now, but it doesn't matter. But the point being, it's like, look, it was a long winter, and all of a sudden there's something to look forward to, and you guys are out flying. And so I really, like, from my end of it, from a snowbound Canadian at times, I appreciate that content, because sometimes it's all the difference between a okay day and, well, you know what, there's some motivation to go. And I like the fact when we watch some of the videos that you're involved in, we get to see a little bit of your flavor, a little tweak, like, I like this plane, and here's why, and I'm going to fly the living daylights out of this thing, and you're going to enjoy this video because it's funny. And, you're, the Valiant, was it the Valiant? Yes, the Valiant, and then the Micro, and it's funny. It's almost like you pick a product and you say, you know what, this is really good, and I'm going to explain why. And, so it's a really interesting opportunity to do that. I have solicited the RC Afterhours community and have like 37 hot seat questions. Now, I'm not going to ask you all 37 hot seat questions, obviously, but we're gonna get into some questions. But early on, like, you've gone through a little bit your history and everything. You've gone through, and it's 7 years, like you said, and it is kind of cool because I've been very lucky because I've gotten a couple neat trips with you. We've done a couple of awesome Flite Fest away trips, but you sit there and go, wow, like, we've done so much. This year was funny because you were so preoccupied with your post productions. We actually didn't get a chance to sit down and connect, which was kind of a shame. So, hey, you know what? I got you here. But it's fun to watch everything going on. So I don't know. Do you want to dive into the questions, or are you kind of
Yeah, we can dive in, and just to comment on what you just said in terms of how you relate. And you said that, like, I don't know if you guys know how much impact you have, and in a sense, I think that is true. But at the same time, like, I do have a little bit of a sense because, well, one, I have a bunch of YouTube channels that I watch, just like you guys might watch Flite Test, And it really is an awesome way to connect with people and relate. And the cool thing about this format of media or video compared to some of the traditional forms of video, like broadcast television or something like that, is there is a element of authenticity that you can't get in some of the extremely highly produced video content. And so this is like, it's coming straight from the source, and like that's what we do at Flite Test, and we've kind of learned to embrace it. And if anything, in my opinion, over the years, it's become even more authentic. I don't want to say less produced, because it's still like huge project files, but like it's less hosted content and it's more like a window into our world. And that's like the beauty of YouTube, and that's the beauty of all this social media, is you can really like learn to let your guard down. And that's one of the things that we had to like learn to do over the years, is to kind of let our guard down, show some full transparency, like show the funny, like, the funny misspoken words, or like show the crashes. There was a time where like the crashes weren't shown and the failures weren't always shown. And we've learned that like that's the gold, actually, because it brings out that raw emotion that other people relate to. It brings out the learning opportunities of like why things failed, like poor Andrus with that giant kraken. That was extremely physically and mentally draining for Andrus. And then when he finally conquered it, none of that was fake. That was all extremely real, probably even more real than like the video actually let on. He was extremely invested in that project, and when it hit the ground again and again, it was absolutely devastating. And like that's what human beings relate to, is that like true emotion. And it's no different in music or any kind of creative medium, when true expression is letting that emotion out and kind of showing that and not being afraid of it. And I kind of feel like that's part of the reason why each and every one of you has kind of joined the Flite Test family. And I that's one of my personal favorite things about what I get to do, is, relate with one another. And it's not just us sharing our experiences with you, because when I meet you guys at Flite Fest, it's so amazing because you guys feel like you know me, and we kind of get to skip that awkward get to know each other phase, and we get right into the discussion phase and like really relate to each other. So again, it's a privilege, and just happy to be in a position where we can be creating this stuff and sharing it with you guys.
Buddy, I like that. That is well put. And we get it too on our end. It's this year has been pretty special as far as connecting to the fans, particularly for this podcast and some of the changes that have come about recently. But we're looking right now, and there's plenty of action going on, plenty of conversation going on within the chat. Actually, we're not ignoring you. I'm enjoying the conversation with Alex. And everybody talking about, what was the one? They're discussing what was the comment? It was, what's the over and under? How many people have watched the over and under flying with Alex doing quad? So actually, let's talk about that.
Wait, there's the how to fly a quad and walk your dog and stuff.
Even then, like early on, you weren't a fixed wing guy initially. You were a little bit, but your early role at Flite Test was doing a lot of the quad work. And I remember shooting the Tundra, the Durafly Tundra video with Josh, and boy, you got close. Mm-hmm. But the shot was phenomenal. And the still was awesome. Yeah. But all I kept thinking was, don't hit the plane, don't hit the plane.
Yeah, we definitely hit quite a few planes. But yeah, the chase quad is definitely fun. I actually started with fixed wing. Like I said, my dad was a pilot, so naturally growing up, he did have some RC planes around. He had like a Nitro trainer, and then he had a couple a couple gentle ladies, and I remember him flying those when we were real young, and then they got stored away for a while, and then eventually me and my neighbor buddy we snuck those out and took them to the park and saw if we could like fly them, see how far we could chuck them until it crashed into a backhoe, and then we sneakily put it back where we found it and just didn't say anything. And my dad didn't find it until like 5 or 6 years later, and he wasn't too thrilled about it, but that's a different story. But yeah, the quads was actually something that didn't start until Flite Test. So I think like right around the time that I got hired, I think my dad maybe had gotten one of the original little Chinese brushed quadcopters. And so I was like kind of learning a little bit, but I didn't see my actual first like hobby grade multi-rotor until Flite Test, which was one of the original like rotor bones tricopter at the time. So that's kind of where it started, and then I took to it really quickly because it's just like video games. So I play a ton of video games, always have, still do, and so like flying the quadcopter is just like flying the Little Bird in Battlefield 4 or Battlefield 3, whichever one had the Little Bird. So yeah, that's kind of how that all started. And also, I should give David a shout out, because David was huge in helping me not only learn how to fly, but more specifically to learn how to chase. And it's very, very rare that I see like chase footage that I really, really like enjoy, because and I get how it happens, but like so many quad pilots are so caught up in like what they can do with the quad. In my opinion, like I'm not here for like what the quad can do. I'm here to look at that airplane in the air. And so like keeping it smooth and like almost like when I watch the footage, like that's what I always tell Matt. I'm just like, you shouldn't even be able to tell that it's a quad. Like you shouldn't even be able to tell that it's like it's even a camera. It's like it shouldn't even make sense how that's being captured. So, but yeah, I still fly. Probably not as much as I should, because Matt, I'm busy making the videos, and I help shoot and edit and kind of direct a little bit and kind of keep the show rolling. And so Matt now is kind of the guy who's been doing it. He's been doing a fantastic job. He's a very, very impressive pilot. But yeah, chasing in general is something I'd highly recommend to anybody who has a quadcopter.
Well, and you know, you're talking about your evolution at Flite Test, you know, and so that's all part of it. But so from the chase perspective, I'm curious how many hours of time, like how long did it take you to get that, you know, get the eye, I guess, you know, like you talk about the style, but just acquiring that other aircraft in the sky is like, it is a lot of work. I've tried it a few times, even from a fixed wing and a quad, and it is a lot of effort, a lot of you know, because you can see them far out and someone turns the other way, oh, where'd you go, and everything. How long did that take?
It's a good question. I remember, I think I had been flying about a year with like the rotor bones quad. So for those of you guys that aren't familiar with like the archaic quad technology, it's like what, 5 years old. It was basically just like the early quadcopters. We'd build them out of wooden dowels with the little G10 motor mounts on the ends and big brushless motors with slow fly props. And we do quads like the Knuckle H quad, and then the tricopters, which like David Windestall's tricopter, and the Batbone. So like that's what I learned on. And I remember the Knuckle H quad. Something about quads. I know David loves the tricopters, but as soon as I started flying quads, like I've always loved the quads, and that Knuckle H quad was the one where it started to click, and I'm talking all line of sight. So I learned to fly line of sight just because, I wouldn't say all, but I flew a lot of, I guess I was flying line of sight when it started to click. I was flying that little Knuckle H quad. You can go back and watch the video, but I painted it all black and had the super like neon or neon green props, and I just learned how to rip that thing around line of sight and do flips. And so the time it clicked for me really with FPV was the Blackout Mini H Quad. So that was like the dawn of what we know now as like mini racing quads. It was like one of the first carbon fiber specific mini quad designed to go fast, fly acro, do flips, be somewhat durable, even though it had all nylon standoffs. But yeah, we started flying those things, and they were so locked in and predictable. And like I said, it was just like a video game. It became more and more like a simulation because the flight control boards kept getting better. We transitioned from KK2 boards to they were called multi-Wii boards at the time. And the Flip 32 and like so some of those early flight control boards. And yeah, I remember I met Peter. This is before Peter worked at Flite Test. We were at we did like Joe Nall, we did Seth, and Peter would always show up at these flying events. And that was when it was really starting to click. You know, I remember at Seth chasing Peter through the woods there at Seth, and he was flying like a little T-28 Trojan, and I was flying the Blackout Mini H Quad, and we were going through the trees together. And at the time, like nobody had ever seen anything like that. FPV was like within a couple years to being new, at least here in America, like to be somewhat mainstream to the point where you'd see it at an event like that. And me and Peter were flying through the trees together, and everybody else was flying on the flight line. And they say it looks like this plane's like flying into the trees, and then it pops out the other end, and everybody was just like losing their mind. Actually, I actually have a video of that. Let me see if I can find it. But so yeah, that's kind of where it'd been. And I will say that like the video games definitely help, but also there is a lot to be said about my situation. Like having access to that stuff early on, like being Blackout sent us those mini H quads and the mini Hex at the time. So having access to that stuff early on and like really getting to fly it without having to worry about, we didn't intentionally want to crash anything, but like it wasn't like my personal money, so there was just like less at stake. So naturally you try more things, and then all the meanwhile you have like Josh Bixler flying a plane, which also like we take care of, but ultimately we're trying to push him to the limits and test him so we can give honest reviews and whatnot. So like it was just a good situation to like really kind of push it and try. And then Josh was also a fan. He's always been fantastic at flying. Like he'll fly for fun, and then when it comes time to get air-to-air footage, Josh Bixler knows how to put it into a nice, steady, predictable pattern. Because you mentioned like how hard it is to hone in on an airplane, and it really, really is, unless you have really good communication and experience with the pilot. So it's like kind of like a equal. It's like kind of like a dance in the sky. And so Josh is really good about communicating like what he's going to do, where he's going. He's like, I'm going to speed up now and dip down, and then I'm going to come up and do a loop. And so like that stuff like really, really helps.
Nice.
So
all right. So before we get into I'm going to ask you one more question, and then we're going to get into these hot seat ones, because I'm really excited about a lot of these questions. And I've got a random number generator. So it's going to be completely random what these questions are. And anybody on the chat, if you want to chime in on a question, go ahead. Okay, Alex, tell us what your favorite flight test style project would be.
Flight test style project. So like in terms of
video builds, like what would be your, if the keys to the candy store were open to you and you had to go and make something, and it was just, what would that be? What would be the ultimate project for you and you were like, yes?
That's a good question. Just a side note, in the comments, I just linked to that Ceph 2014 Blackout run with Peter Sriepel through the woods. That's a classic, but definitely check that out. So any project, what would I do? I would have to say, me, man, it would definitely probably be some kind of high wing, low and slow kind of airplane. I would say kind of a bush plane. It's interesting because it's an interesting question because most of the ideas um, that I've thought about like that we've made videos on. And so like I'm trying to think. It's like so like when you ask that question, I'm like, oh, so you mean like what we're gonna do
Next
for
video,
like
yeah.
the next video?
Yeah. No, I hear you.
Um, yeah, so but for me personally, I always go towards like something like low and slow. So and also like something simple. So like I built
Yeah.
Jeremy that simple cub, and as silly as it sounds, and this actually says a lot to you guys out there who are maybe potentially thinking about spending a ton of money on a bunch of RC toys. I've had the opportunity and the privilege to fly a lot of that crazy stuff, and if I could have anything from Flite Test right now, I'd probably build a simple cub. Because it just flies so good. Get that landing gear dialed in and nice and straight. And I'm just out there doing touch and goes all day, just burning 3-cell 2200s because that's my level of an enjoyment. I get a kick out of flying the big stuff, but when you add the layers of complexity with like the
It's
bigger
it.
batteries and more motors and stuff like that, there's something to be said about just like throwing something in the back of your car, going to any kind of park and just like shooting touch and goes. That's like
Yeah.
my jam.
It's funny because I've been very lucky, like you, very lucky to be able to bounce through this hobby. And I came back from Flight Fest with that silly Mamba 10 from Flex. 3S 2200. I threw that thing in the air and I was like, wow. But guess what? I have my FT Racer, I have my FT Spitfire, and it's just something about every once in a while going back to those very simplistic roots. And that's what I love about the Flight Test planes. And I've got so many kits sitting in the back that I've got to build. And then I build my own stuff too. And that's, I find my builds are in the winter when it's just so miserable, so cold out, and I just get in there and I love just grabbing the foam board. I'm really sad that my pink bomber didn't make it through Flight Fest this year because that was a nice looking plane. That was probably the best thing I had ever built as far as scratch build. But I just love no plans, just a straight ruler, a good blade, and some scribbled notes, and go at it. And yeah, and you've done that so many times and made so many fun episodes there. So okay. So we're going to jump into these chats, and not the chats, these questions. So,
all right, while you're doing another one, I'm putting another video to my roots in the comments. This is a video from one of my first tricopters that I ever built, and I was flying it around my brother, it's actually my dad's now, a hot air balloon. And you can see how far the technology has come because it flies terribly. And I don't even think I was flying that line of sight. Or I'm sorry, FPV. I was actually flying at line of sight with a GoPro, just filming stuff.
Cool. I don't know if it's showing up.
One from the archives. I commented as
that should go
test.
through. My chat might be delayed here for whatever reason, but regardless, we're still having fun. And if they get flagged, I'll push them through afterwards. All right, random number generator from 1 to 37. Here we go. Question 32, and these are all submitted. About 1 or 2 are my own ideas, and the rest are from the community. So number 2, it's not even fun or anything. It's a heavy hitting question already, so not really, but whatever. Do you think our airspace is safe for us to continue to fly, or do you think we will lose the ability to fly with exceptions of only registered or established RC fields? So a little heavy hitting here right off the bat, Alex.
Yeah, no, that's good. Absolutely, a great question. I probably should be a bit more informed and articulate when it comes to the regulation. But that being said, I do know for a fact that Flight Test has every intention of getting involved, and that is the most important part, is for everybody to stay informed and kind of get involved, because we have worked directly with the FAA here in the United States, and I have to say that they have been nothing but absolutely reasonable. They are completely reasonable people. They have an extremely difficult job, and they are just doing what is best for the people, and also the industry too. Basically, I encourage you guys to do the same and keep an eye out, because like I said, encourage everybody to stay informed. And as things continue to develop, Flite Test is going to be a very big part of that, and we are going to be helping people stay informed, through content, through videos and stuff like that. So as things continue to develop, you can expect to see more of an involvement from Flite Test. So to answer the question, though, no, I don't think that we are going to lose the ability to fly. There are way too many people in high places that really do genuinely care about the recreational hobbyist, and also everybody here knows, but like it's just too powerful of a hobby to kind of be silenced. And I don't buy into the fact that they're gonna like take our planes or like ban RC flying. I don't think that it will ever get to that point.
Well put. I like these random questions. Okay, next one. Ready? Number 7. Oh, pre-built or built? Are you a pre-built fan, or are you a builder?
Question.
Ooh.
Honestly, it depends on the day. So I honestly like both. But on a typical day, well, I guess I'll put it this way. It depends on how nice the weather is outside. Because if it's a beautiful flying day, I'm going to take the pre-built. But if it's like the dead of winter, I'm going to take some time and enjoy putting something together down in the basement. That being said, I typically recommend to people that if they have a little bit of an inclination to try to build, I recommend it, but I don't recommend people to try to force it. So, if you're looking to get into the hobby, you really got to think about what you want to get out of the experience. And if it's mainly just flying, you want to start with the best trainer possible that comes ready to go. But if you are open to the idea of creating something yourself that defies the laws of gravity, then go something build. Anyways, I digress. I guess my answer is
Nice.
I'm going to say build.
Nice. And
I'll say
on
build.
that, I mean, the stuff that John is doing with your Flite Test foam is mind-blowing. Like, I thought the A10, when I saw the A10, was beautiful, and then we see all the curves that this guy has been able to figure out, being a machinist and a bodybuilder, using his metal fab techniques. I mean, it's taken your planes to a whole other level. Like, they're gorgeous. I've got the Corsair. I'll probably end up ordering, the next. Well, it's the Spitfire. Woo! But like, it's just amazing what you guys are starting to get. And I know when Josh talked about changing the foam formula, he was like, look, I want a plane that lasts, because the white foam board is amazing, but it does have a lifespan, even though that FT wing back there, the Arrow, is one of the original white ones. It's now way past its prime because it gets wet. But amazing. All right. Next question, buddy. Number 5. Ooh. Fast or slow?
That's an easy one.
Do you,
slow, for sure.
I know I get in trouble at the field because I'll take out a warbird and I'll slow it down to the point that the guys are yelling at me because they're like, they were never meant to go that slow, Andre. And I'm like, but I want to see how good of a design it is.
Yeah, no, I prefer to fly slow. If it has flaps, half flaps
Into
or
the
full
wind?
flaps, like kind of on as close to the edge of a stall as possible. The Valiant was always
Brian
good
Chambers
for that.
asked the question, does Alex still love the Valiant?
Yeah, actually, it's funny you asked. The Valiant is gone. But yes, I still do love the Valiant. Great little plane. I believe that you can still probably get it on sale. I think it was $139.
It's a good plane.
It's a huge value. It's a fantastic plane, especially if you're like, um, if you know how to fly and you're kind of learning, you're wanting to kind of take it to the next step. I'd say it's a good like intermediate trainer, but also it's like good to get into like precision aerobatics. I like flying it slow, but it does have a wide speed envelope. It's very slippery, so like it glide. It does everything pretty good, and the landing gear is the best. But anyways, I was flying it at Flite Fest this year with my buddy Dan from A-Main, and kind of showing it. He's like, "Why do you like this thing so much?" And I was showing him. I was like, "Well, see, like it just flies so nice and slow." And I was like doing touch and goes and put the flaps down. And then I was like, "But the cool thing is you can kick those flaps off and you can really kick it into high gear." And I was like, I went full throttle, like straight into like low pass over the runway into a straight up climb. And I went like straight through this guy's Edge 540 that he was like, I don't know what he was doing. He's like hovering or something, but right there, just like obliterated it. Now the Valiant came out the other side, and somehow was in perfect condition. So I pulled out of it, came around, did a perfect landing, and came up. And this kid, he was super cool about it, but I could tell he was like super sad. So I just like the Valiant was like it didn't even have a nick on it. I think it like somehow it must have just like hit all the prop, and somehow the prop didn't break. But I was just like, you know what, man? Like, here you go. Just take this. Don't worry about your edge. And I gave him the Valiant because I felt
I have a
absolutely
photo.
terrible.
I think I've got a photo of you flying the Valiant at Flite Fest too. So is that the same one that you flew out west and everything? Is that the same plane, or have you had a couple different ones so far?
No, so we got three, or I forget how many we got, but I've had two. So I took one we did the episode, and I took one of those and flew that for quite a long while. That's kind of when I fell in love with it, and that one eventually came to its demise in one of the vlogs. It like crashed into the ground so many times, and like the head fell off, and then the battery fell out, and then I replaced the tires and put bush tires on it, and we flew it like that for a while. And then eventually it just retired. And I think actually it probably still would have flown again, but I think somebody picked that one up at the open house before we moved out to Edgewater. And so the next one was Flite Fest South.
I flew that one.
I think we had an extra one from the episode that we never used that was still in the box. So when we were packing up to go down to Florida, we threw that box in there and brought it down there, and I built it at Flite Fest South, and we flew it. I think Andre, you flew it. Jake Marshall flew it, and honestly, like it survived. And this stuff is so busy at Flite Fest. I figured it was in the store, but like by the time I got home, I thought to myself, "Oh, geez, I wonder where that Valiant went. Like, I hope somebody grabbed it." And like I just like never saw it again. And then Flite Fest South was in whatever that was, November or something like that. And it wasn't until December at the Flite Test family Christmas party that Bob Parmalee came in, and he I think Josh gave like a speech to all the employees and family and stuff, and afterwards Bob's like, I have something to say, and he got up in front of everybody and he's like, I got something for Alex. And I was like, what? And he brought the Valiant, and he snuck it out of, because he was down at Flite Fest South and he drove down there. And so he's like, I saw this down there. I figured you guys were going to be packing everything up on the semi-truck and it would probably get damaged. So he's like, so I just grabbed it. And I figured I'd see how long you guys went before you noticed it was gone. And he's like, turns out you guys didn't notice. So he brought it back and gave it to me. And so that's the one that I've been flying up until several weeks ago at Flite Fest, when I crashed it into that dude's Edge 540 and gave it to him. So it's got a new home now. I'm sure it's still doing good.
I had no idea that you actually took out someone else's. Was it an FT 540 or was it something else? Oh.
Yeah, it was a FT Edge 540.
That had to sound impressive, buddy.
Yep.
Austin's here.
Lewis and Line
Oh, there's
Twist. What's
tons.
up,
So
everybody?
one comment earlier up was Tom was like, "No, you're wrong, Alex. 6S jets are where it's at." I want to say yes, but I haven't even flown my own 6S jets this year. But I will fix that very soon, hopefully, if the weather plays nice. All right, number 37. Since we're having so much fun, and you know what? These are all random. Chocolate or vanilla? Really?
Vanilla,
Awesome.
probably
Awesome.
most
All right,
of the
we'll
time.
try and get a serious one for you because that was easy. All right, question 9. Random is going low. Favorite brand of radio? This is big. This is a big decision.
I'll say this, and it's not because we've worked pretty closely with Horizon, but it's
Nice.
Spectrum for sure. And for me, it
Yeah.
goes back to simplicity. I know I joke about it in the videos, but I really am a simple kind of person, and I'm super minimal. And when it comes to radios, I just want to fly a simple plane, low and slow. Like I don't need like all the bells and whistles. And so, quite honestly, like my go-to, just because it's like been the one around, has been the
Nice.
DX8 Gen 2. And I had a DX9 for a while until something happened to that. But even a DX6 would be more than enough for what I do. Like I said, I keep it simple. I think that I'm so used to flying battleships and all these crazy things where we have like a bunch of cameras rolling and like huge batteries and giant props and like sketchy flights and like all these variables, that when it comes time for me to fly for enjoyment, I just want something like super simple.
I can respect that. We get that question a lot, and I come back to what do you want your experience to be in it, and it's like that classic. It's turned into that classic, iOS versus Android device kind of thing, right? I'm like, pick one for whatever reasons and stick with it because you're going to drive yourself crazy if you've got multiple receivers and everything. And you're right, because if you've got the Spectrum, you can buy that bind and fly airplane and you're in the air, and the rest of us are
Valiant,
sitting there trying to figure out what the module's doing and So, and I also like the variety.
Yep.
All right, we'll get a few more, and then eventually we're gonna have to let Alex. 37 again? Come on, what's not so random? 27. This sounds like a serious one. That's not a fun one. Come on, I want fun here. 31, 20. I'm not rigging this at all. No. Okay, grab tape, CA, or hot glue first.
Tape share, hot glue tape. Specifically gaff tape. We use gaff tape for everything. It's not the best, but it's always readily available, and it always works halfway good.
Have you ever had a situation where you've damaged a plane so bad, but got to get the episode out, so it's just free for all to repair it?
Oh, absolutely. I'd say almost every time. So like the pick on the most recent video, which was a gauntlet of a project, but like the battleship, we're always hoping for like at least like a mediocre success. So like after the first flight, which it did technically take off into the air, and it flew somewhat controllably for a handful of seconds, and then it crashed. And of course we drew that out a little bit in post-production, but that's like best case scenario, and that didn't actually happen to have any damage, nothing major anyways, but like that's what we hope for, because we know that worst case scenario, like we probably could have made that into a video where like that's where it ends, and if the damage was too bad, we could say like, see you next time, we're going to try to fix this or whatever. But almost anymore, like Jeremy and I prefer that if there is like a little bit of an element of failure, as opposed to like if we build a battleship and it just flies through the air perfectly and then it lands and we're just like, all right, that's great, we did it, we'll see you later. It just doesn't make for as entertaining of a video. And so that being said, we've never like purposely like crashed anything. Like we always try our hardest to make it fly. But when there's like a little element of failure, but it's not catastrophic, that's like ideal for making like really good videos.
Nice. Yeah, well, I mean, you're mixing, you're flirting with that technical and that entertainment element, and if we're just, it makes, like I said, it makes for good videos. Ooh, I like this question. Mustang, eh?
But the answer to the question was yes. We do that almost in every video. A couple that come to mind is the battleship, the giant Kraken that poor Andrews had to rebuild like a bunch of times. The Darkwing Duck that Matt did, that one crashed pretty good, and it had to be kind of pieced back together, and eventually it worked.
Oh,
The
yes.
X-wing that Jeremy, that thing, that was barely a video, because it crashed pretty hard. That one literally was pieces that we put back together. So the answer is yes, it happens very often.
All right, this is a good question. This is going to divide the community. Mustang versus Spitfire.
I go. Are you talking just like in?
We're not talking FT.
General,
we're talking the real birds. Yeah.
Real birds. Real birds. I'd probably go Mustang.
Oh.
Sorry, man.
I love the Spitfires. Love the Spitfires. Actually, you know what? They're both beautiful.
I love them too. But for me, because I'm considering like I'm gonna be flying inside of it, right? So like for me, I want that Mustang landing gear. See, I'm all about the landing. So like I want that wide landing gear. The Spitfire, actually I have a Spitfire on my phone simulator that I fly, Infinite Flight. It's like actually a really highly detailed Spitfire model, but I don't know, that narrow landing gear kind of sketches me out.
No, I got it. I've scuffed the wings on many of my nice Spitfires with gear. But yeah, look at that. We're everybody's chiming in on what they think here. Yeah. Yep.
Mustang Racer.
The FT Racer right back there. I love the Mustang as well. All right. What do you think? A few more questions there, buddy? All right.
Yeah, man.
24. I don't think we've done this one. What's the most damage you've ever done? Ooh.
The most damage I've ever done in terms of
I guess it's a really good
like
crash, a really good. Well, it could be either or, right? It could be, like, what have you wiped out?
I'm trying to think. See, like most of the stuff that I guess most of the big stuff that I've made that I crashed is not worth anything because normally it's just a bunch of trash. like the Frankenplane, that thing was a pretty big monstrosity, and it went into the dirt pile. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Dollar amount, I feel somewhat bad about, but it was totally worth it. Was destroying one of the new Insta360 cameras when I put it on the watermelon. So we didn't show that actually in the video, but the camera did actually get destroyed, and the footage was all corrupted. And thanks to our technology guy Robert, he was actually able to salvage like the first, I think it was like 6 seconds of the drop, and that's what you see in the video. And that made it worth it because it was like a really, really cool shot. And Insta360, who sponsored the video, they were super happy with it too. So it worked out. But that's probably the most dollar amount. In terms of, I'm honestly trying to think, because if anybody has any memories of me crashing stuff, but most of the big stuff somehow I was probably chasing with a quad.
You lose any cameras besides the Insta360?
Yeah, definitely. We've lost a lot of GoPros from impacts. I crashing a GoPro. Actually, funny enough, I don't even think it was Flite Test. It was my dad's at the time. I borrowed his camera and then used it at a shoot. It was a long time ago. So we did a guinea pig. It was back when we were like releasing the guinea pig, and Josh and I were flying out over snow, and it was I think it was the Blackout Mini H quad, and he had taken off. He was flying out over Fury Field. It's like a lot of white snow. The guinea pig was a white plane. I couldn't really see him, so I was like ripping out there to try to catch up to him to find him. And he like I think he was like in the sun or something, and we just had a head-on collision, and I went straight into his prop, and so it like annihilated the quad and the camera. So I guess that's a pretty good one. Expensive quad, expensive.
Oh yeah,
Expensive camera.
I think my brand new GoPro 960 was in the cargo plane I had, and I folded the wing, and the camera was never the same. It worked, but I think I shifted one of the filters in the lens, and the camera was just never the same, you know. But I laughed because it was okay, rebuild and keep going. That's awesome. All right.
Yep.
19. What is 19? Your go-to plane. I think we've covered this one pretty good.
Yeah, the Valiant. Well, I guess it's not my go-to plane anymore. I guess recently, not really by choice, but just by it's just been around and I've been using it a ton. Is the Nano Goblin. I've had one of those in the back of my car, and it's an awesome little plane. Pops out. The lithium-ion battery lasts 45 minutes. So
Nice.
it's like a crawler
Nice.
of the sky. I've had this thing in my car for like a month, and occasionally I'll take it out and fly it for like 3 or 4 minutes, get a quick flight in, and then put it back. And I haven't charged the battery once. It's been in my car. It's been in my car
That's
for like
pretty
3
crazy.
months.
Actually, that's one of the airplanes. That is an airplane that I have not. So I'm reading Austin's comments in the chat, but the Goblin, the little Nano Goblin, is something I have not tried yet, and I guess that was their hot airplane. I want to say last year, the year before, and yeah. So yeah, Austin posted in there, FT GoPro program sponsored by the Best Buy replacement program.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yep,
and a couple other guys are saying, yeah, they've got the Nano Goblin 45 minutes 2 weekends ago, landed in a tree. Yeah, have you done a full 40-minute flight with a plane before? Or do you just get punchy after like 5-10 minutes?
No, so I fly it like I fly a normal plane, and even like the Valiant or like a typical like pretty efficient like 2200 3-cell plane, you can fly it like well over 10 minutes, and even that's like a long time to fly a plane nonstop. So like I like going in like little 2, 3, 4 minute spurts. I was at my parents' house flying the Nano Goblin. They have nowhere near enough space to fly Nano Goblin, and so it made it super interesting because I had to like I had to take off like a short takeoff through this like valley of trees to climb out, and then to land I had to come into the wind and like because the Nano Goblin glides, it's like a glider, it just like glides forever. And so I had to like do a super long approach low over the rooftops, through the trees, like over my parents' patio, and then I had to like push it down into the grass as gentle as possible because it was like a very, very tight landing area. But it's a great little plane. Like I said, I haven't charged the battery in like
crazy.
2-3 months.
And do you see that technology? Do you see that technology affecting some of the products for the future, or are we still going to be limited by the battery ultimately?
Well, no, I don't think so. It's I think they're always going to keep improving the batteries and the motors. They've come so far, in in 5 years. Like the batteries are a lot like a 22. We still have some of them, but like a 2200 3-cell from 7 years ago is like the size of a 2200 4-cell today. So like they keep improving the size and the efficiency, but like I think the lithium ion batteries have been around for a while. The reason why they're not super popular, I think, is because they don't have the outrageous power that you get from like a lipo. Like the Nano Goblin has plenty of power, but it by no means has ultimate or unlimited vertical. It's definitely, but it glides really good. So it just kind of depends. And I don't fly full throttle. I don't like going unlimited vertical. Like I'm a lower energy flyer. So yeah, that's I think that it'll be around, but it's just like not for everybody. Everybody always kind of gravitates towards the need for speed.
Is this line of sight flying or is this FPV?
I've been flying the Goblin line of sight.
Okay, nice. Nice. All right. One or two more questions, and I think we're going to let you go, and we'll finish off the show. Ooh. Belly lander or wheels?
See, I always have definitely always wheels if it's a good landing gear. So that's my answer. I would rather have wheels. But if it's not a good landing gear, like for example, if it's like one of my scratch builds with one of the landing gears that I tried to bend and it just like is crooked, like naturally pulls to the left or the right and automatically ground loops as soon as you touch a wheel to the ground. In that case, I would almost rather have a belly lander. But in general, like I would, if it's a fully functional landing gear, I would definitely go landing gear all day,
but not
over
retracts?
belly lander. Oh, I see what you're saying. No. There's too many moving parts for me.
You know what? I love.
I'm just a simple guy.
And I go through these waves, and it's like I don't want to deal with this stuff anymore. Some days, and it's like I said, when I flew that silly Mamba, I'm like, wow! I think I just found the plane that I've been looking for the last year. No retracts, simple to get into the car. 3S 2200, and it
awesome.
Made me like I took off and I went into a knife edge and orbited around the track, and the guys are like, wow, and I'm like, yeah, that board makes me look like a supreme pilot.
Yeah, try that on 4Cell too, because I've heard it's really good. Just and anybody watching, the Flex Innovations make amazing products. So if you're a pretty accomplished pilot and you feel pretty comfortable in your skills and you're looking to kind of get something that you can have for a long time and take care of and it flies really well. The Flex Innovation stuff is a little pricey, but that's because it's better. They fly really, really good, really good
All
products.
Right. This one is this one's a pretty good question. Pinch or thumbs?
I'm a pincher now.
Oh, really?
I used to be
I'm
thumbs.
still. Someone noticed one day in one of my videos. I'm still hybrid. Yeah, I use my I use my thumb on my throttle and pinch on my aileron elevator control. I don't know. That's just how the problem with that is I think I bump my rudder every once in a while, but I'm like, yeah, whatever. I fly it and it works. I point it in the direction I go. So, wow, Alex, that was pretty darn phenomenal, my friend. I really appreciate you coming on. It's nice to get some insight and hear some of your stories and some of the backstories. And I got a feeling you guys are just going to keep drumming along at almost a breakneck pace. I almost worry about you guys from a friend standpoint, because I'm like, wow, I'm tired and I just did Flite Fest and that's it. And you guys roll right back into it and do all the heavy teardown. I get to go home.
Yeah, well, the teardown was a heck of this year was the best year yet. A lot of that's thanks to Austin, but also the building that we got put up, and all of it's possible, because of the awesome community. So, a lot of great things coming for Flite Test. So, stay tuned and thank you, Andre,
buddy,
for everything you do.
Actually, have a good evening, and we'll talk to you later in the week. I think we'll touch base after this. So. Thanks, buddy. We're going to actually keep the podcast going while Alex chimes out. And, I think I hit a button here and started the music. Let's turn that off.
Before I go, I just want to say thanks to everybody. Flying Ambo, Tom Jenkinson, Tony Butler, Frank DeBree, Louis Russi, all you guys. Appreciate you hanging out, and everybody who's listening. Really, really appreciate you guys, everything you do. So, guys, have a wonderful evening.
Alex. See you later, buddy. Bye.
Alrighty. Take care.
Okay, well, that was Alex Zvada. Appreciate him for popping in. He's just chimed out and everything. So I'm going to jump in. Those questions that everybody submitted over the Facebook, and if you want to email me and send more questions, and we keep adding to this, I really enjoyed the hot seat questions, and that number generator is awesome. But, of course, I will overrule and snag a couple of questions of my own. So we are going to dive into a couple of the here we go. I'm switching over some monitors. We're going to dive into some of the products. Now, you're going to love this. Here we go. Website, Wingnut Tech. And that is, their website is wingnuttech.com. That is Brian and Alex, who make the Night Radian controller. Brian emailed me this morning and said, hashtag blame Andre, and you get a 10% off coupon for your for that Flite controller, or the LED controller. So blame Andre, hashtag blame Andre, no accent on the end, just an E, and you save 10% off the price at wingnuttech.com. Brian has actually worked on another module for me. I'm going to put my camera up. Hey, and we'll get rid of... and there we go. Just me. Hi. Brian's actually worked on something for the Norman plane, and I'm excited. It goes moo. If anybody saw the videos there. Hey, Brian. Brian is now on the chat. Thank you. Yes, this controller is cool. I haven't flown the Radian yet because that's just the way things go around here. But I can't wait to get that thing up in the air. And get it flying. So again, blame Andre. Stickers without the accent on the E. Woohoo! I gotta get some. Speaking of stickers, I will work on that, folks. Give me some time. I'm gonna get everybody lined up, get all my ducks in a row and everything. And again, thanks to the Patreon guys for checking out. You guys are amazing. Thank you. I was thinking there would have been a very big exodus, but everybody stuck around, and we're doing good. So I will start thinking about what to do with the Patreon funds and how to make it all work. I've actually, for anybody watching on the video, I now have a brand new webcam, and I'm thinking it looks a lot better. Ratio and everything, and video wise, I think it's looking a lot nicer. And so this will be used for the podcast and obviously the Friday Flying Update when I'm on the bench. So let's dive into some of those new planes. Horizon had a pretty good week, and I don't know which one to start with. I watched the flight video on the A10 that pilot Ryan did and was impressed. I have the V1, and I know the updates are pretty good. Does it make my V1 any less valuable? I don't know, but I know I will do a couple tweaks. Everybody tells me to change the ESCs. Yeah, I've got them, whatever. And change up the thrust angle on the motors and then watch the front gear. Yeah, so I'm still tempted to try and fly it stock, and we'll go from there. I kind of like the gray over the black and white. I don't know. What does everybody else think? Leg otherwise. I'm just reading some of the comments from the guys in the chat. We'll work on a couple of things. I think my poor Mac was howling away at a high power ratio, so I'm going to work on that. The F16 from E-Flite, 64 mil bind and fly. I guess that's the one that most of us would look at. So hold on, right click and go into the tab, and we'll load this really slowly. I noticed. There we go. Come on. So this is a pretty simple, nice looking airplane. $180 isn't bad on insurance. It is a rebranded aircraft and repainted. It's got a pretty cool looking paint scheme. Specs overview. It is their basically 40 amp ESC with a 11 blades. So that's pretty interesting. 40 amp brushless outrotor, 5 servos, and your standard receiver. It's a 4S 2200 aircraft using the EC3 or IC3 connectors. And it seems like it's a pretty nice looking plane, but we're not here to talk about the FMS stuff. We're not here to talk about that F16. That Hangar 9K L43, or is it I-43, 88 inches wingspan, 60cc, with retracts. It's like $1,200, but we're interested in this EC-15, aren't we? 1500. This caught my eye right away earlier in the week, and what can we say? It does look a little toyish in some of these photos, but wow, I can't decide about the sticker price. It's $400. But it's got a lot of capacity. It apparently has skis and a bunch of options for cameras and everything. I'm going to read through the specs really quick. It is a twin aircraft. It has got it is 3S or 4S, 5-bladed props. Will run on a 3S 3200 to 4S 6400. So it's got a huge payload on it, which is kind of interesting. Tom says their shop brought it in. It's basically a C-27 without official licensing. Yes, exactly. And it's got servos. They're all metal geared. It's got a cargo door. It's got a steerable nose. Ball link for all the connections. Fly from the water using an optional float set, which might be kind of cool and everything. So is this their answer to the Tundra? I don't know. Not the Tundra, sorry, the Bushmule from Hobby King and Avios. It's very possible. It's a good-looking airplane. It's got the right colors. I think it would look really good in like a search and rescue RCAF, but I'm biased, right? It's got some nice little features. It looks like a nice plane. It's $400 a lot, though. No retracts and too big. Yeah, the price is a little high. Can we belly land it? Frank asks. Well, I don't think you would need to belly land it. Those gears, I guess the nice thing without retracts is you're probably going to do less carnage because we hear reports of all kinds of issues with the retract aircraft this scale. But, it looks kind of neat. They seem like they're decent wheels and everything. So... and we're going to talk about those two things. We're going to talk about the FlyCat and everything from Hobby King in a minute. Right now, still focusing on this guy. I'm semi-impressed with it. So it looks like I got this wrong and I hit the wrong page. Sorry, folks. I was trying to show the video and I'm stuck on a page. Anyhow, let's see. If I go here. There he goes. It comes up. Regardless, I guess we're going to wait and see. I want to see one in person. Let's see what it looks like. Bushmule, C-130, Yeah, exactly. Illegitimate child of a Bushmule and C-130. That's pretty funny and accurate. It's got some neat ideas and some neat features, and we'll just see how it goes. I like the fact that you can put the FPV cam at the top and everything. That is kind of cool. And it's got the right size, so... Jury's out, I guess. We'll wait and see, and yeah, if I see one, I will have to consider whether it becomes a test plane or not. Who knows, right? I miss my Bushmule. I actually sold the Bushmule a couple months ago, and I gave away the Sky Mule, so I'm without a twin until I get unless I fly my Mosquito, my Mossy. So who knows? So. Jury's out on this one, I think. All right, so we talked about the Avios MiG-17. It's been kind of interesting to see some quality issues. Overall, it seems like a really nice jet, but there have been notes about the numerous servo issues. So who knows? We'll keep an eye on this one and keep flying. But what we're here to talk about this evening, really quickly, is this one, the H-King FlyCat. I'm not sure about the name. I watched the video. It looks neat. What they didn't show in the video, which kind of caught me off guard, was the fact that it's a 6S jet, and they're having another person do the launch of the jet. I would kind of want to be able to throw this thing myself, so I'm not sure. But it sounded good. Yeah, it's got a 12-blade 70 mil with an 80 amp ESC. Yes, I'm just looking for those specs really quick. Yes, 70 mil, and it is a 6S, and they're talking 3000 milliamp 6S 30 to 60 C. So that's quite the hefty power punch. Missing a pilot, says Luis. Yes, it is, but it's got a dark canopy. It's neat. I just don't know. I think like the graphic job and the paint job and everything, I think it's a very visual aircraft. Can you throw this thing by yourself without needing someone to do the launch for you? So 90 XD90 connector. It's got your ailerons, your elevator controls. So pardon me, that was a big yawn on my part. Sorry, folks. It is now late in the evening, and I'm still rambling on, but we're having fun. 6-channel radio, and off you go. So, you know what? It's got its merit. I would love to test fly one, obviously. So, the other one that was issued the other day was the RadJet. This is, if I'm correct, this is a remake, or this one's back, from redusted and looking pretty good. So, same idea. Long nose, but this has got a pusher configuration motor, so in theory this thing should haul. Spec wise, it's not huge, 800 millimeter wingspan. It's got a 2010 18 kV motor, 20 amp ESC, 3S2200, so pretty simple. I don't know what size prop it's spinning, but it did not look huge. And you're just running a basic 4-channel with aileron mixing. So that's a pretty good little airplane. It'd probably FPV really well, to be honest. So you can barely get an UMX for 110. No, exactly. This thing here shipped, plug and play, is $63. So it's actually a really good, fun jet. Thank you, clone. That's what I was looking for from Jason. Yes. For $63, and that's from the international. If I go to the US store, let this chug over from Hobby King, $75. Yeah, exactly. And we love pink, says Luis. Yes, we do. So nice little thing. Hobby King. RC Afterhours will be more than happy to test torture this thing for you. All right. So, unless there is any other business on the chart this evening, I think it's pretty well time to wrap up this awesome podcast. I've had a really good time. Very big thank you to our guest, Alex Zvada, who came on late into the evening. He, like me, has worked all day and is probably super tired, but it was really cool and really awesome to talk to him. Again, I'm Andre. You've listened to another, we're stretching on like over an hour and 15 minutes for this podcast. So, hey, why not? So again, thanks for hanging out with me this evening, having a nice little fun time on the podcast. Talk to you later.